Welcome to Enlightened Game with Slim Sir, as he takes the lessons he learned from the streets, commonly known as the game, and applies them to everyday life, helping everyday people win the game of life, focusing on relationships, money, and the winner's lifestyle. This podcast will turn any chump into a champ. So if you're ready, let the game begin. And now, your host, the most valuable player himself, Slim Sir.
Thank you for joining me. My name is Slim Sir, and this is my audio notebook. This is that one place that I could come and just talk and download the information that's on my brain into this microphone. Hopefully some of you pick it up and apply it to your life so you can win. Before we get started, I'm going to ask that you like this, click the thumbs up button, subscribe, share this video, do all the social media stuff, because I want to offer you some real value with my perception and my perspective of this game. So, one last bit of housekeeping. I want you to click the link in the description and go to my website and purchase a copy, download a copy of one of the greatest books that have ever been written on the game. My book, How to Pimp Life and Karma. Now, I know you're probably wondering, oh, how could he say that? Now, that's his book. He's so arrogant. No, I'm not. I'm not arrogant. I am the pimpin'. And the pimpin' sees himself as the best. And because he does the most. So I see myself as the best writer because I actually do the most. I work the hardest at my craft. Therefore, I can say that I'm the best. And I have produced the best book. A book that will help you to get the best and the most out of your life, to get the best and the most results, and to be able to handle your money the best and have the most of it, most of it as possible as you can. And all of this is very, very easy when you practice these rules that I teach in this download, in this book. When I teach you these rules and you practice them, when you buy and apply this book, you're going to see your life change. That is not just a fucking sales pitch. That is the absolute truth. If I could show you all of the letters, all of the people who are communicating with us and telling us how much this book has changed their life, you'd be surprised that it came from some pimping. But I want to show you that the pimping exists on such a higher level than you could ever have imagined. You see, when we think about the pimping, we only think about the streets. But there's levels to this, man. There's higher level game that exists in the world, and someone has to teach it to you. Because this game elevates you. The game that those other guys teach you leads you straight to prison. They know it, and you know it. And if you follow that garbage that they're teaching you, and you end up in prison, ain't nobody coming to save you. Right? Ain't nobody coming to save you. Ain't nobody gonna send you no letters. They ain't gonna put no money on your books. None of that. You're just a casualty, right? And if you ask them, well, do you feel bad that so-and-so went to jail because they followed your guidance? They would say, well, I didn't make them. You know what I'm saying? The game is by choice. Well, if you have a choice, you should make a better choice. You should choose up. Choose up means to make a decision that's going to advance you. And this game that I'm trying to share with you and How to Pimp Life and Karma, it will elevate your understanding of the game. Why? Because, it's not like you don't know the game. All of these sayings and philosophies and ideas that we've gathered from this elevated game is the same game that we all know. It's just our level of understanding is different. You see what I'm saying? When you say choose up and I say choose up, we may be saying the same thing, but our understanding of it is different. And so when you're on the first level of the game, your perception is a lot different than it would be if you're on the 16th level of the game. You see, when you're on a higher level of the game, you can see farther. You can see further. You can see clearer. You can see things from a higher perspective. When you're on a lower, on the street level of the game, you're in the thick of it, right? And so your perception, you wouldn't necessarily understand the perception of someone who's on the 16th floor. You can only understand the perception of someone who's on the same floor as you. I want you to think about that. Well, a principle of any game is to advance. And if you stayed on the first floor your entire career, it's like staying in the first grade of school, right? For your entire career. Now, we expect little children to advance grades every year, and that's natural for them to do. Well, how come it's not natural for us as pimps to advance and grow every year and get the best and the most out of this game? What is the game? The game is a body of knowledge, a body of guidance, a body of old sayings that if you study these sayings and look into the deeper meaning of the sayings, you'll get an elevated perspective of the game. See, I don't know who created it or who made it. I was just born and blessed to know it. But whoever designed it was very wise, and they left a lot of wisdom in those old sayings that, people just quote just to sound cool. We all say the same thing, but you don't understand what you're saying. There's deep meaning in what we say. There's deep value, deep definition, deep logic and strategy, and a system to win the game of life buried in those old sayings that we repeat and don't know the meaning of. And so we came along and we started to teach you the deeper meaning of this game. So for those who don't agree with what we're doing, I want you to know from my mouth to your ear that I don't really pay attention to you, because, for me to argue with you would be like arguing with a first grader, and my goal is to, graduate college, right, and to become a professor. So if I'm on a higher level of the game, I'm not going to argue with my brother. I'm going to try to elevate my brother's game. So I don't want no problems, no beef with none of y'all, just because we have a different perspective of what we think the game is, right? And that perspective is natural. You know what I'm saying? You're always going to have that level of the game, that first grade street level of the game, if you don't elevate your game. You see? And the purpose of life itself is fucking growth, man. If you put a seed in the ground, it's going to grow. All right? When you see children, what do? They naturally grow. Well, your mind must grow as well, man. And if your mind doesn't grow, then you got a big grown body, but you got an immature mind. You got a baby mind, a boy mind. And in the game, the way that I teach it, it's that boy mind, that immature mind is a trick, because it's constantly chasing pleasure. The opposite of chasing pleasure is self-discipline. The biggest difference between a pimp and a trick is self-discipline. And this is what I'm trying to teach you. See? So when you have self-discipline, now this applies not only to sex, but it also applies to business. If you can apply that same discipline, right, that you apply when it comes to, being disciplined with a lady sexually, then you can apply that same discipline to business. You can apply that same discipline to school. You can apply that same discipline to learning something, right? See, the woman in the game, she's a symbol of the world, right? And her genitals, her reproductive system, her coochie, her vagina, it represents the pleasures of the world. And so a trick is always chasing a woman's the pleasures of the world, the lower levels of the world, the superficial levels of the world. Well, the woman is a symbol, and her mind represents the higher levels of life. So whereas a trick is chasing after the lower levels of life, the pimping is chasing the best and the most, and you find the best and the most on the mental and spiritual level. That's something that a trick would never understand because he's too busy chasing the pleasure. Well, now look, when we chase pleasures, that makes us a trick, right? Some people's pleasures are drugs, right? Some people's pleasures are food. Some people's pleasures are, whatever they are. But when you chase the pleasure, you are automatically a trick. That is the higher level of the game. You see what I'm saying? When you are self-disciplined, you are behaving like the pimpin'. Simple and plain. So if you lack self-discipline, you can't say that you're the pimpin'. You are not the pimpin'. Because the biggest difference, what separates the trick from the pimp, is self-discipline. And this means the discipline, the first level of discipline that you have to have is how you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? Seeing yourself as the best and the most, and wanting the best and the most from yourself and from other people. You understand? This is real game. And if you think it's valuable, press the like button, thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, share this audio with people, man. They have to get a higher level of game, because the level of game that exists and is being promoted now is going to lead you to prison. And if you go to prison, or you catch a charge, you're not the pimping no more, because you paying a lawyer. See what I'm saying? Now you a hoe for the lawyer. And if you go to prison, guess what? Right? You're not pimping. You giving them all your time. Right? See, the pimp wants the best and the most. Right? So we have to utilize our time better than that. Better than the first grade level of the game. That doesn't mean you have to put the game down. You just have to elevate the game. In fact, don't put the game down. Elevate the game and start pimping on life. Start pimping on karma. Start pimping on money. The earth is feminine. Start pimping on the earth. Start getting some of this earth for yourself. That means home ownership, land ownership, farming, construction, architecture. Start pimping on the planet. Anyway, if you think this is good for yourself and other people, please share this with your friends. And go to slimsir.com and support by downloading a copy of How to Pimp Life and Karma. And I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. I am your brother in the game. Peace.